as we start to get into if you will, the nitty-gritty of trying to put a state budget together, as we conclude on 3 long weeks of budget hearings, I think it's important that we all be reminded really what's going on here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, especially in the context of the economic reality that exists for thousands, if not millions, of hardworking Pennsylvania families who are working mightily to try to make ends meet. And it's in the context of looking at the total economic picture in the Commonwealth and to some extent across the country that we rise today to really try to understand what's happening for folks, what they're dealing with, what their economic reality is, what their concerns are, what their frustrations are, and what the dilemma that exists for them as they relate to state government and what we do here in policy, but also as it relates to how they try to live their everyday lives. Most folks, Mr. President, are struggling, and they're struggling mightily. They have tried to live by the rules, they have tried to play by the rules, and they have tried to operate in the context of the rules of trying to, if you will, just do the right thing. But we're seeing more and more folks in a position where they're having to work not just 1 job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs, just to make ends meet. And that's just not one member of that family unit, Mr. President, but that's everybody. That's mom, that's dad, that's the kids, that's the teenagers going to high school, that's the students trying to make their way and try to pay their college bills. They are struggling mightily, Mr. President, and they're getting a deaf ear, if you will, from the Commonwealth. There seems to be a disconnect between what is happening with folks who are trying to make ends meet, and it is best represented in, if you will, well, I guess maybe it's best represented in this USA Today article that I'm looking at. It was no April Fool's Day joke, but it did come out on April 1, Friday, April 1. And the interesting thing here it says, Mr. President, is that it says, CEO pay soars while workers' pay stalls. Let me read that again. CEO pay soars while workers' pay stalls. And the subheadline here is 75% of chief executives received raises in 2010, some of them substantial. Now, there has 2 pictures of 2 guys here. They look like nice guys. They're heads of major corporations. John Lundgren is, I guess he's the CEO of Stanley Black & Decker. That's what it says right here. John Lundgren is Stanley Black & Decker. He received in 2010 $32.6 million. I want you to hear what he received in 2010. $32.6 million. Now, the crime of this, or at least I guess not for his family, but that the increase in his pay over the year before was not 2%, was not 5%, was not 3%. It was 253% pay raise. Listen to me now. Pay attention closely, because I'm going to repeat what it says. It says he received a pay raise of 253%. Now, somebody's got to figure that one out for me. Now, underneath his picture is Richard Davis. I guess he's the CEO of U.S. Bancorp. He didn't do too bad during 2010 either. He received a pay raise, a $16.1 million. I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down here. I hope you're listening clearly. $16.1 million. It's a 143% increase. Now, I want you to think about that. Now, the rest of us are struggling mightily, trying to make ends meet. We still can't get through this foreclosure crisis. Many of us, thousands, maybe millions of families in this Commonwealth, and definitely all across the nation, are still underwater with respect to their mortgages. Rest of us can't even get a mortgage. Working hard, trying to make ends meet. Working hard, trying to make ends meet. Workers in the private industry in 2010, they received a 2.1% increase during the year of 2010. But John got a 253% pay raise, and Richard got a 143% pay raise. The heads of these companies, you know, it's not right. It's not fair. It's not appropriate. And the reality is that public policy has got to respond to the realities that exist for the people in this Commonwealth. And there's a trend that's consistent, that's developed in the policies that have been developed here so far in this year, 2011. And I want you to see it clearly, very clearly. February 28th, the Adult Basic Health Insurance Program comes to an end. 42,000 people thrown off the rolls. No health insurance for them. I didn't say 4,000 people. I didn't say 400 people. I said 42,000 people thrown off the rolls. No attempt to try to rescue them. We took some steps. We brought folks together. We offered up some plans and concepts, but they fell on deaf ears. 42,000 people thrown off the rolls. February 28th. And all those folks are working people. They're working hard every day. They take care of all of our needs. They take care of all of our issues. They are working hard every day. Most of them are women. They're raising families. They're taking care of children. They're working in child care centers. They're taking care of our dry cleaning at the laundromat. They're doing everything that's necessary to keep life going for all of us. But they don't have any health insurance because the state abandoned them. Now, that's February 28th. On March 3rd, 3 days later, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania decided to give a $200 million tax break to the biggest corporations in this state. Most of them represented in this USA Today article, getting these huge pay increases. They got a break. They got a pass. They got a tax break while we dropped 42,000 people off the health insurance rolls. Now, where's the fairness in that? Now, that was within a 3-day span. Think of this. 42,000 people were told on February 28th that there's no lifeline for them, that the state is in a budget crisis and there's no help for them. No manna from heaven, no money to pay their health insurance. Nothing for them. 3 days later, the biggest corporations in this state got a $200 million tax break. What is the righteousness of that? What is the correctness of that? And the economists say that $200 million tax break, in technical terms, is called accelerated depreciation, is one of the worst kinds of ways to stimulate economy. Not one of the best, one of the worst ways to stimulate the economy. But the crime does not end there. February 28th, look at your calendar now, February 28th, 42,000 people dropped off the rolls. March 3rd, $200 million tax break. March 8th, budget proposal to the joint members of the General Assembly over on the House side. Governor sits there, says to all of us, here's what we're going to do. We're going to provide another $300 million in tax breaks, at least, and we're still counting them up. Another $300 million in tax breaks to those same corporations. Now you go figure, because at the same time as he said that, he cut education funding by $1.2 billion. He cut funding for higher education by 50%, which basically means that young people going to college right now will probably have to face a $1,000, $2,000 increase in their tuition. So here it goes. February 28th, 42,000 people kicked off the rolls. March 3rd, $200 million tax cut for the big corporations. Didn't have to do it. $200 million tax cut. March 8th, budget address, $1.2 billion cut for basic education, 50% cut in higher education, which means tuitions are going up. And at the same time, about at least a $300 million additional cut, tax breaks for the big businesses. Remember, I'm talking about these guys right here. That's the math. The truth is the light. No one's lying here. These are all facts. Nobody's bragging here. It's just facts. No brag, just facts. It's the truth. Now, there's a tendency that's going on here that we got to put a brake on. We know we have a difficult budget crisis. We know we have a difficult challenge ahead of us. We understand that we've all got to work together. There is a concept called shared sacrifice, where everybody gives up a little bit for the greater good. Everybody puts a little skin in the game for the greater good. But how can you tell children that they're going to lose their after-school programs, that they're going to lose tutorial programs, that they're going to lose all full-day kindergarten, and they're going to lose extra support, technology, all the kind of stuff that makes kids special academically? How are you going to tell them that they lose and the corporations win? Because the real deal is this. You're taking money from the little children and giving them to the big corporations. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about these guys right here. Now, that's the truth. There's no lying in this. This is the real facts right here. This is the lineage. It goes from February 28th to March 3rd to March 8th. And in addition to that, the proposal cuts almost half of the Department of Community Economic Development budget. Almost 50% wiped out. And that's the budget that does job creation and economic development in the Commonwealth. I think we need to be thoughtful and conscious about what is going on here in this Commonwealth and the policies that are being established and how they do not represent the reality that exists for millions of people in this Commonwealth. How can you say that this is fair, that this is even-handed, that there's a shared sacrifice here? And then we hear from the other side of the building that, you know what, the real problem that we have here in this Commonwealth, from the other side of the building, we got all those poor people. They're the ones that's causing this crisis. They're the ones that's causing this problem. They're the ones that's driving this economy into the tank. All these poor people. Are you kidding me? Working people who lost their health insurance, poor folks who are trying to make it through life in some of the programs in the Department of Public Welfare, they did not cause the economic crisis that exists right now. They did not put this Commonwealth in a deficit mode. This crisis was caused by these guys right here in the paper. That's who caused the crisis. That's where the problem exists. That's who the people who've got to deal with it. But in this state, at this point, they don't have any skin in the game. There is no shared sacrifice. Help me understand this. Explain this to the average Pennsylvanian walking down the street right now. Go to the daycare center. Go to the child care center. Explain to the little children and their families, you know what? Here's the deal coming from Harrisburg. We're going to take your programs from you. We're going to deny you the education that you deserve. And by the way, the money that we used to give you, we're going to give it to these guys in here in USA Today. You know, the guy that got a 253% pay raise in 1 year. Think about it. The guy at US Bancorp, he got paltry money. He just got a 143% pay raise. Give me a break. Who are we here to represent? Who are we here to take care of? Who are we here to invest in? What is the direction that's going on in this Commonwealth? Mr. President, it ain't right. It's wrong track. It's wrong direction. It's wrong course. They say that these guys are the big job creators. That's what they say. But unemployment rate still is far too high. They say that these guys are the ones that pay taxes. But my goodness gracious, didn't I see a report in the paper the other day that General Electric paid no federal taxes? I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not making this stuff up. You can find out about this stuff all across the Commonwealth. It appears in the newspapers in Washington County. It appears on the TV screens in Scranton. It appears in the radio. You can listen to the radio while you're driving to the Pirates baseball game. You can hear it. You can hear it everywhere you go. But at the same time, we want to say that we're for the average Pennsylvania family. That everybody has got to give a little. Well, who's given anything in this community represented by these guys here? 75% of chief executives received raises in 2010, some of them substantial. John from Stanley Black & Decker, I'm going to just keep saying it again, 253% pay raise. What kind of sense does that make? What kind of sense does that make? And the average working people, now we're talking about saying to state workers and regular workers and teachers and child care workers, look, would you do us a favor? Would you not take a 2 or 3% pay raise this year? Do us that favor, because we got to balance this budget. We got to make all the ends come together. We got to work this thing out, and we don't want you to get an extra $500 over the course of the year. Where's the fairness, Mr. President? Because I see none. Where's the decency, Mr. President? Because I see none. See none. You know, there's a graph here from Felipe Dahlman, the chief executive at Viacom. His base pay was $2.6 million. He got $11.2 million in bonuses. He got another $141,000 in other compensation. He got stock option awards of $70 million, and his total compensation package for 2010 was $84,469,000. He got a 148% pay raise over 2009. And we want to give these guys a break? Look at the numbers. Even the guys on the low end of the totem pole. The guy that's head of Aflac. You know the commercial with the duck? Aflac, you know that commercial? He got a 20% pay raise. The guy from 3M, he got a 41% pay raise. Where is the fairness here, Mr. President? These guys also, while they got their pay raise, also got $200 million in tax cuts on March 3rd, and another proposal of another $300 million in tax breaks on March 8th. And I haven't even started talking about Marcella's share. The joke of the century. If you are a CEO or any board member for a shale drilling company, you are right now sitting in your boardroom feeling good about yourself. And why are you feeling good about yourself? Because you're not paying any taxes here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. You're not paying your fair share. Every dime you make from drilling in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is going right into your pocket. How do they get off? How do they get off? The audacity of them drilling at such a level in probably the largest deposit of shale in the world. In the world. They get off without having to pay a dime. And at the same time, we ask working people, average working people, to forego a pay raise. And at the same time, we say, you know what, we're going to take $1.2 billion out of your basic education funding, and you know what we're going to do? We're probably going to make you raise your property taxes just to compensate for it. Or at the same time, we say to young people who are going to college, you know what, we're going to cut college support by 50%, and you know what that's going to mean? That's going to mean probably a $1,000 to $2,000 increase in your tuition. Imagine if you are finishing up your freshman year at one of the state system universities, and you're trying to put your summer together, and you know you got to work during the summer, not just because you just need some pocket change, but you got to work during the summer to pay next year's tuition bill. And the next thing you know, you get a tuition bill that comes in the mail and say, hey, 30% increase in your tuition. So the job that you had or that you were planning to have during the summer, that was going to cover what your old tuition was. Now you got to work 2 and 3 and 4 jobs just to deal with the new tuition that you're going to have to pay. And the big guys, the fat cats, these guys right here, they're walking all the way to the bank. And the Marcellus Shale drilling guys, they're not paying the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania anything. There is a lack of fairness that exists here, Mr. President, and we got to stop getting sidetracked by all the other issues and stay focused on what is real and what is relevant and what is the issue. The issue is shared sacrifice. If you're going to take $1.2 billion out of basic education funding, that the big guys, the fat cats, the big corporations, they got to give up their fair share also. If you say you want to raise tuition rates by 30, 40, 50%, to our young people going to college, then the fat corporations, the big guys, these guys who are making millions of dollars a year, they got to give up their fair share also. Because right now in the proposal, they are not giving a dime. Where is the fairness? Where is the truth? Where is it? Well, the incidents that have happened from February 28th to March 3rd and out of March 8th spell out a very clear picture, that education is not important, whether you're going to grade school or high school. That education is not important if you're going to college. That maybe what's important to dump on poor folks and take a couple $1 billion out of the Department of Public Welfare and make it harder for folks who are struggling to try to get through, to seize control of their life. Well, Mr. President, I rise on this day just to stand up because you know what? Can't take it anymore. Can't put up with any longer with the silence, the lack of truth-telling, the misrepresentation of the facts that are going on here. The truth of the matter is that the proposed budget here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is being balanced on the back of working families. Folks just trying to make it through. That there is no shared sacrifice. That everybody's not asked to give up a little bit of something. And especially while we're taking from the little guy, what we're taking from the little guy, the working family, we're giving it over to the big guy. And he doesn't need it, because he just got a 253% pay raise. Mr. President, there's got to be some rightness here. There's got to be some justice here. We got to be in the business of doing the right thing and take care of the people who were sent here to take care of. Thank you very much.